Hey guys, it's Roscoe on the Space Couch. Today, in the wake of the very successful Tesla Model 3 launch, Big Auto is now desperately trying to fight off and fight back against the inevitable. Now, obviously, Chevy are producing their Bolt, but it's not the main focus of the company. The main focus of that company is still ICE vehicles, So the Bolt, it kind of feels like a sideshow. I mean, yes, it is going to come to market before the Model 3, but like I said, it still feels like an afterthought or like a compliance vehicle, shall we say. They have to produce an EV in certain markets. I mean, GM have been essentially poo-pooing the fact that Tesla have had all those pre-orders, saying, oh, you don't need to put $1,000 down for ours, we're coming to market, you'll definitely get your vehicle as soon as it launches, But it's like, I don't know how many reservations. Does it even have any reservations? Or they're just producing and hoping people are going to buy it, If it does have reservations, I can tell you it certainly doesn't have nearly 500,000 of them like the Model 3 does. And it also doesn't have that near 500 million in reservation deposits. I mean, do you remember Nokia? Or BlackBerry? No? Well, for those of you who are too young to remember, those are companies that were cutting edge phone companies in the late 1990s, early 2000s. Great phones, especially the Nokias. I always hated BlackBerries, but the Nokias, oh my god, they still work now. They're like bricks, they can't be destroyed, they're fantastic. Then along came the iPhone. And they were all dead in the water unless they had touchscreen technology. Nokia, long since gone. BlackBerry, it's a shadow of its former self. So that is what Big Auto is facing, and they really don't seem to realise it. I mean, for instance, there was a very telling anecdote the other day. The head of Fiat, I forget his name, was saying, oh yes, we could produce a very compelling electric car within 12 months and bring it to market if we wanted to. But we don't, so we're not going to. They will probably really wish that they had at some point in the next 5 years. But that is very indicative of Old Auto's stance. Not just Old Auto, any industry that's facing a major shake-up does not want to change and adapt. But it's going to be adapt or die. I'll tell you what also reminds me of. There's a story I read recently. Mr. Ferrari. Back when it was Mr. Ferrari, building his amazing sports cars. There was another guy wanted to build sports cars, so he's speaking to him and said, look, I've come up with this design, also this amazing. Look, why don't you just stick to building truck parts? You will never be able to design a sports car. That other guy's name was Mr. Lamborghini. So yes, I know it's not a direct comparison, but you look for these things at your peril, It's like Lamborghini is a great company for making sports cars, and they obviously have impacted Ferrari over the years. Ferrari did not pay attention to a possible competitor, and they've suffered for it. This is, again, what all the other car companies are going to be facing. I mean, yeah, it's all very well coming up with ugly compliance cars, but if there's no charging infrastructure, there's no plans for building battery packs or say gigafactory type installations, the cars aren't capable of over-the-air updates, and no realisation by the companies that those things are necessary and what people are wanting. They are going to be in real trouble once people start to realise what a car can be as opposed to what a car is right now. The Germans, however, I mean, they are aware of the problems. Obviously, they've invested in Tesla in the early days. Some of the companies have used Tesla's battery packs and powertrains, though those agreements are kind of falling off now as the nature of the threat Tesla presents to them is now revealed. I mean, they are the Germans, I forget which company, I think it's Mercedes, I'm not certain. They are investing in battery installations and not a gigafactory, but a factory that will produce all that sort of thing. I believe Germany's got quite a comprehensive charging infrastructure, although, I mean, obviously there's there'll be the supercharger network, and then there's whatever the German version will say, Ecotricity or whoever it is. I don't think there's going to be a Mercedes, for instance, charger. We shall see. It might have to go that point. Also, those companies that are coming up with all these EVs and say, oh, well, what do we need to have a charging installations infrastructure for? So they haven't even teamed up with Tesla to utilise that. You know, it's like they just don't want to do the hard work. And not that the charging infrastructure side probably is that hard. You know, it's like sign the agreement, pay some costs, build out the network, and then your cars can benefit from it. Also, yes, I mean, also Tesla has been crushing that luxury sedan market in the last year. All the German brands have seen their sales fall by anywhere from single figure to say high teens percentage wise, while the Tesla Model S has seen its sales just go up and up and up. So yes, they are facing the thin end of that wedge now, and they still don't realise it, you know. Remember the thousands who queued up to place a deposit for the Model 3? That's a load of Bolts and Leafs and Priuses and internal combustion engine cars that will not get sold now. Well, you would hope anyway. So that is good. And I also remember at the same time, I was like a couple of days after, in that huge initial launch of the Model 3 and the flood of orders, you were hearing things like, oh yeah, this Chevy dealership, there's like 60 orders for the Volt, and this one there's 90 orders, and this one is 30 orders. I mean, like, there's a time we would have thought that was amazing. I mean, remember when the Model X was launched, 500 orders, I think, a week or a month, I don't remember, that was considered amazing success. Now, to say, oh yeah, there's going to be 90 at this one dealership, unfortunately, it's laughable. It shouldn't be, because it's great that those cars are getting built. There is a place for the Bolt, even though I think it looks terrible. It's not very imaginative in its design. Maybe down the road, Chevy will actually design a car that looks amazing, as well as having all those attributes that's going to, you know, with the range and all that sort of thing, which are the good parts of the car. It's just the outside isn't very attractive to me anyway. This is why I also think the Model 3 is going to be the most successful of that category of cars, you know. We shall see in due course. Why don't you subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this content? Leave me a comment or suggestion of what you think is going to happen to Old Auto. Some of them will survive, no doubt. They will adapt. Some of them won't. It's like we saw in the phone industry. It's like you see in, say, the airline industry always, you know. It's like new models, new forms of transport come along, hub and spoke came along, low cost carriers came along, wide body planes came along. All these things change. Some people can adapt, some companies can't. Anyway, like I said, subscribe to my channel, let me know what you thought of this topic, or like the video.